Today we're going to talk about a city that has been a popular place to live since long before the Roman Empire even existed.
And lots of people still love living here today, especially foreigners from all around the world, and now we know why.
Even though a lot of you have been asking us about this city for quite a while, it really hasn't been on our list until recently.
But before we dive into the pros and cons of this popular destination in Europe, hit that subscribe button if you're planning a move abroad, because we can help you decide where to go.
If you saw our last video from Matosinhos, you've probably already guessed that we're going to talk about Porto, Portugal.
Even though we arrived during one of the worst rainy seasons in recent memory, we didn't let the weather stop us, and we were lucky enough to have a few hours of sun and blue skies to film our walks around town.
One of the first things we did was meet up with our friends Josh and Kaylee from Expats Everywhere.
They're based in Porto and shared a lot of valuable insights to help us get the most out of our visit. Check below for a link to their channel.
There are a few things about Porto that we didn't really like, but there were a bunch that we loved. So that's what we're going to start talking about, starting with how safe it feels here.
Portugal is ranked one of the safest countries in the world, coming in at number 7 on the Global Peace Index.
We felt really safe walking around town. We wore our watch and jewelry, which we're not really used to doing. We typically didn't do that in Ecuador. We saw lots of people out day and night after dark, single women walking by themselves, young families, parents walking their children. It seems very, very safe here.
The people here are so friendly. Everybody has been super helpful and warm and welcoming, and we have not experienced any anti-foreigner sentiment that I had heard rumblings of.
Yeah, we've been getting a lot of questions about that in our videos, especially when we talk about Portugal, how other YouTubers are talking about anti-foreigner sentiment. We haven't experienced it at all. We've talked to a lot of people, and really no one has complained at all about the foreigners being here. And it's a good thing because there are a lot right now. There's a lot of people.
I know. I am so surprised. We were here on shoulder season, and I figured there'd be tourists, but it's not this many.
The language barrier was not nearly as difficult as we had anticipated. Portuguese is not an easy language. However, we're able to read it because it looks so much similar to Spanish. And people here speak English, they speak Portuguese obviously, but they also speak Spanish. So we've been able to switch between the two languages, and we did learn a few key phrases in Portuguese.
The city of Porto is extremely clean. We mentioned this in Matosinhos as well. We didn't see any trash on the streets, no cigarette butts anywhere, despite a lot of people smoking. The air is clean, the cars are super quiet, and the big buses, we don't see those big black plumes of smoke trailing behind them like we did in Ecuador. So the air quality is actually really good too for a big city like Porto.
There are a lot of electric cars here, and they are very quiet, so you definitely need to take precautions when crossing the street because you may not hear them.
One of the things I really like is you can drink the tap water, although it kind of has a little bit of a funny taste to it, and it's making Amelia's hair super frizzy. I don't have that problem. We read online that a lot of people prefer to drink bottled or filtered water just because the water does kind of have a mineral taste to it. And when we've gone out to restaurants, they all offer filtered water, and they bring it out in cool little bottles. Amelia and I have really enjoyed all of the history that is in this part of the world. Porto itself is over 900 years old, but people have been living in this area for 2,200 years.
And there is so much to see. I loved all of the old historic churches, the monuments, the fountains. This city is so incredible. Everywhere I look, when we first got here, I just kept saying, wow, wow, wow. It's so different compared to where we were living in Ecuador. And I love the architecture too. It's such an interesting variety of architecture, and I was surprised to see the Art Deco. JP has just been having a blast taking a ton of photos.
You might notice a lot of ceramic tiles on the building. Those are called azuelos. I know I'm pronouncing that wrong. Those are from the Moorish influence. The Moroccans ruled in this area for 800 years, from the year 711 to 1294, and they left a lot of their style behind.
We loved the iconic bridges. I especially loved the big, beautiful white arched bridge that's close to the ocean, which you can actually climb if you want.
My favorite, of course, is the Ponte Luís bridge. It was designed by Gustav Eiffel, the guy who designed the Eiffel Tower. So it looks a lot like that. It's the same kind of structure, and it was the longest bridge of its type at the time when it was built. Your thoughts about this bridge?
I'm sure it's safe, but it does move a little bit, so it makes me kind of nervous. We're up very high.
And the city of Porto is actually quite a bit smaller than we realized. When I was planning stuff out on the map, everything looked very far away. But once we got here and started walking, everything's only like 10 to 15 minutes. It's so accessible. It is very walkable, as we mentioned. However, there are a lot of hills, so be prepared to work your legs and buns, which I'm fine with. JP doesn't like that.
Hills and stairs. Man, my legs were sore multiple days after our long walks around town. These hills are steep.
Yes, we're gonna work off lunch. This is good.
What are your thoughts, Amelia?
I'm really enjoying just meandering around and learning our way around Porto. When we drove in here, it seemed like it was super big, but now that I'm getting the lay of the land, it's really accessible.
Feels a bit like Amsterdam to me.
Yes, but just not as big.
And if you don't want to walk, Porto has excellent public transportation. You have the buses, the metro, they have a full train station that will take you all over the country, and they have taxis and Ubers. There are a lot of beautiful restaurants and street side cafes around town, and we ate out probably too much. But we had to. We were in Portugal. I wanted to try some of the traditional food, like the traditional Portuguese sandwich, which is francesinha.
The restaurant where we went had a nice alternative version for us. It's a sandwich covered in cheese, and then they pour tomato sauce or soup over it, and then they give you French fries to dip in the soup. It was actually really tasty, but pretty rich.
It was pretty hearty for sure. It kind of reminded me of a cross between a breakfast sandwich with like Jimmy Dean sausage and a smothered burrito.
We celebrated my birthday dinner at M Carne Viva. The chef there is a genius. He creates masterpieces of art that you can eat. We had a 10-course meal, and it was so memorable.
And one of those dishes was a reimagined version of a traditional dish from the Middle Ages. I still can't quite wrap my head around that.
We had an amazing dinner at Remedio Santo. He makes gourmet Portuguese dishes. I fell in love with lasagna there. Amelia had, I don't even know what yours was called. It was really delicious too. But my favorite, of course, was the pumpkin cheesecake.
Oh my gosh. And then I had the Snickers pie, which was kind of like a cheesecake. Oh my God. I'm glad my clothes still fit.
Yeah.
It was decadent.
We slept really well that night.
And then we went to, we just went to so many places. We went to Padoca and had amazing breakfast food. And it was just a nice, casual, relaxing place to go and spend a morning or afternoon. And we actually found a place to go have more dessert in Bonfim. We went to O Macrobiotico.
Oh, macrobiotico.
O Macrobiotico, which I'm pretty sure we're pronouncing in Spanish as opposed to Portuguese. But the desserts are wonderful.
We found a wide variety of food here to fit pretty much any dietary requirement. We had no problem eating here and finding way too many good places to eat. We actually didn't cook at home as much as we normally do when we travel.
But we still did cook, and we did go grocery shopping. There's a lot of nice little grocery stores scattered around town. There's Pingo Dos, Continente, and Frois. And there's some specialty stores as well. And there's a Mercado right across the street from the Pingo Dos we went to is a big Mercado, which is really pretty, and you can find pretty much anything you want there.
Are you in heaven?
Yes, I am. The produce is amazing. Actually, this whole area is amazing. I am loving it here, JP. This is very exciting.
Yeah, it was interesting too to see. We really got a firsthand view of what the drinking culture is here in Portugal, because even in the Mercado, people just walked around the Mercado with glasses of wine in their hand. They were sitting on the steps, drinking wine with friends, and people everywhere just have wine. It's such a heavy wine culture, and probably because it is so cheap here.
Yeah, you can get a good bottle of wine for just a couple of dollars, $2-3 and you're set.
The pricing for the food as well as the wine is a lot less than what you'll find in the United States. It's actually kind of similar to Ecuador. It might be a little bit more than what we pay for produce in Ecuador.
The shopping experience is also similar to what we've encountered in Ecuador. There's a lot of small little mom and pop shops, but then we also had some nice shopping malls. There's a big pedestrian shopping mall on the oh goodness,
Rio de Santa Catarina.
Yeah, that's Spanish. We don't
It's
know
close
how to
enough.
say Portuguese.
Sorry, Portuguese people. We speak Spanish, not Portuguese.
But it reminded us of the 16th Street Mall in Denver. It was very nice, although and quite popular. It was pretty crowded.
This is a nice pedestrian mall with a lot of chains. I like seeing all the local stores too.
And then, of course, we found that, there's a lot of specialty stores like the clothing and shoes. And we even found a chocolate store that sold Ecuadorian chocolate, and chocolate was delicious.
Yeah, we ate a little too much of that too. There are tourist shops too that you're going to find that sell those azuelos tiles so you can decorate your home with a memory from Portugal.
The pharmacies are similar to Ecuador as well. You take a number there and you wait your turn to talk to a pharmacist because almost everything is behind the counter.
And now for some of the drawbacks of Porto. And the first one is this part of Portugal in the northern region has a really strong rainy season. And we got here smack dab in the middle of it, and it has been pouring rain almost every day.
Yes, in case you can't tell, I think I've picked up a bit of a cold thanks to the damp weather. We're not used to this, but it has not slowed us down.
No, we still got out and did the best we could and filmed on those blue sky days or hours that we had. As soon as the sun came out, we ran out of the house with our cameras and started filming. What are you looking at?
Just enjoying the day, looking at everything. I'm liking all the greenery. I guess that's the price you pay. No, that's not right. It's the reward you get for the rain.
I don't know. It seems like a price. The rain is the price, I guess.
But it's really comfortable. I could actually lose the jacket. It's warmer than I had anticipated.
We weren't expecting the amount of tourists since we are here during shoulder season. We thought it would be a little bit less crowded, but that has not been the case in the popular tourist areas.
There are so many people. It's unbelievable. I can't even imagine what it would be like during high season when the weather is great and there are so many more people here. Sometimes it's hard to get out of the door from the building where we're staying. There are so many people walking by and so much traffic. I can't even imagine what it would be like during high season.
Yeah, I think that would kind of be a nightmare, and as a local, you would want to avoid that area. However, as tourists ourselves, it helped us blend in, so we did not feel obvious when we were standing around staring and gawking and taking pictures like we did when we were in Mexico.
Yeah, everybody here has got their cameras out and aiming up at the beautiful architecture and the things to see. It really is an amazing city for photographers.
We did not expect all the construction either. There is construction going on everywhere. There are so many cranes in the skies here.
I think there's at least 100 cranes over the city right now. And finally, the NHR scheme, which is the tax advantage for foreign residents, is scheduled to end on December 31st. And if you're not a visa holder and part of that plan before then you're not going to get grandfathered in. And that might affect some people's decision to move to Portugal. I know it's affecting our decision, but we're going to talk more about that in our next video about Portugal.
So the question is, could we live in Porto? Well, despite the crappy weather, we still got out. We did a ton of walking. In case you can't tell, I love all the architecture and the history and the access to the shopping and the restaurants, and we loved the people.
The upscale Mercado is one of my favorite places to go. We already have our favorite vendor that we go to. She sees us coming. She gives us yapas. I'm not sure what those are called here in Portugal. Let us know in the comments if you know what it means when they give you a little something extra to keep you coming back, because that's very common in Ecuador. And we were really surprised to see that here too.
And of course, we don't want a car, so the fact that Porto is so walkable and accessible by other means of transportation is a huge plus.
So I think the answer to the question is yes, we could definitely live in Porto, although we might not want to be here during high season. And we would probably want to live outside of the main area. We're pretty much right in the historic center here, and it's just too crowded for us. But some of the areas like Bonfim and Marques and Lapa. We really like Marques and Lapa and Gaia, which is south of the river. If you get outside of the tourist area right along the river, it's actually really nice and it's felt really old and authentic. We saw a lot of older local residents living in that area. That place would be nice too.
Yes, but make sure you're going to bring some good walking shoes because you're going to be walking and it is pretty hilly there, so you're going to work those buttons.
We have really enjoyed our time here in Porto, and we'll probably be spending more time here in the future.
If you enjoyed this video, we think you're going to like this one from Matosinho, so check it out next.
And if you have any other insights for us about Porto, or if you have any questions that we didn't answer in this video, let us know in the comments below.
Before you go, leave us a like please, and we will see you all in our next video.
Ciao!
Ciao!